My friends, it's time to look at some awesome student footage today of the Patreon-exclusive Discord server. If you're practicing the exercises you see on this channel, this video will be extremely valuable for you because you might find the solution why you might be a little bit stuck with some of these workouts through the feedback I'm about to give these awesome students. Very nice. I can already see some things I really like in this video. Pay close attention to the index finger of the fretting hand. As you can see, it's always slightly lifting, which means there's no hard pressing and anchoring going on with the index finger. That really helps with feeling every finger individually and with syncing that up with the picking hand, of course. You can also see that when the pinky finger is lifting, it's staying relatively close to the fretboard. One thing I can see is that it kind of stretches like this when it's lifted, so it doesn't really maintain the curl. That's something that I personally try to avoid. It's one of my bad habits for sure. When I started out with all of this, that my finger wasn't just bending away from the neck, my pinky was actually kind of always extending like this. That's the only thing I can see concerning the fretting hand technique. All the other fingers are working really nicely. And what I also like is when the switch happens from the slower to the faster note values. You can see that the picking movement is not getting any tenser, because since this is an exercise from the anti-tension picking blueprint, this is all about staying relaxed while you expose your picking technique to higher tempos that might be a little bit beyond the comfort zone at the moment. So I love to focus on staying relaxed. I love to see the wrist movement as well. Right now the strokes are relatively big, which is fine because often it's nice to have some picking attack. But minimizing it a little bit more would be a fun experiment to see how stable the economy of motion could be as soon as you push for super fast tempos with this technique. But very, very, very awesome foundation right here. Now this is practice footage I absolutely love seeing. So many people are afraid to push beyond the comfort zone and practice where things get challenging. This is actually exactly what you want in your practice routine. You can see that both hands are still relaxed. It's really just a matter of synchronizing, because once again the fretting hand fingers are nicely close to the fretboard and not lifting up like crazy, and the picking movement is also quite relaxed. The tricky thing with scale runs like this, where you have to transition between the strings, is of course synchronizing that perfectly with every single note. So that is definitely a challenge. One thing that always helps me is a bit psychological, I guess, because right now you could hear that the exercise was started a little bit before the click. So this is something that sometimes also happens to me, where I'm like, okay, this exercise is really difficult and I'm trying it at a very fast tempo. You're often making things harder for yourself than they actually are. So whenever doing something like this that's a little bit above the comfort zone tempo-wise, as weird and as illogical as it might feel, I would suggest leaning back a little bit, maybe even trying to play a little bit behind the click. Sometimes that helps you with relaxing and with playing in time, because you realize, oh wow, this isn't as fast as I actually thought it would be. By the way, my friend, I just checked the analytics on this YouTube channel, and literally over 80% of you awesome people are not subscribed to my Guitar Academy channel yet, which means that you are missing a ton of really awesome, completely free play-along workouts, exercises, instructional videos, and hopefully motivational content that will make you a better guitar player completely for free. So click the subscribe button down below right now. That way you won't miss any free awesome content like this anymore. Now back to the video. Nice. I really like to see the wrist movement here. When I started pushing for speed like this, it basically came from my entire arm, which is not great. You lose the control and it's kind of impossible to skip between the strings elegantly, because you always scrape the surrounding strings like this. So I love that the picking movement is coming from the wrist. One thing that might be worth experimenting with is the actual pick grip right here. Because from what I can see, I think the grip looks a little bit like this. So grabbing the pick with the tip of the index finger and the tip of the thumb, like that. What gave me a bit more control is placing it like this. So it's not on the tip of my finger. I used to play like that, but my pick kind of moved around a little bit and it was a little bit hard to get the control I wanted. So when I started moving it back like this to this position and closing my hand like that, that's when I saw massive progress right away. Of course, any kind of transition to a different technique takes a while. It's not instant that you feel like, wow, this feels so much better. But I could feel that this is the way to go and haven't ever changed it since. So maybe it's worth giving that a try. Because that might also result in an angle of the pick itself when it hits the strings that makes it a little bit easier to play these faster bursts. But once again, I love that the movement is mostly coming from the wrist right here. That's definitely nice to see. And it's only gonna be a matter of time to speed this up. It already sounds pretty great. Nice. I personally really love exercises like this where you're switching between slower and faster note values, similar to what we saw earlier, because timing is pretty much the most crucial thing when it comes to everything that you do on the guitar. And you can hear that sometimes with those switches there's a little bit of rushing or dragging because it's very, very hard to do this just to a metronome. So if you feel like your timing is off a little bit sometimes, this is one of the exercises I would really recommend going for in your routine. Because when you only do this isolated to metronome and you record yourself, like what we see right here, and then you listen to it, you can really hear that, oh, I'm actually a little bit rushing sometimes or dragging. And that makes it much, much easier to correct that. One thing that's mentioned right here is anchoring with the index finger. That's once again something I personally don't recommend because it makes it really hard for you to feel the other fingers as they are working individually. So when you always anchor with the index finger, you never only feel your middle finger, ring finger or pinky finger, which personally for me makes it very hard to sync that up at very, very fast tempos when I'm playing through scales very, very fast. I kind of need to feel each finger to synchronize that with the correct picking stroke. And also it sometimes results in a grip that's way too hard because you really grip the whole neck like this with your index finger and thumb. So while it's perfectly okay in my opinion to keep it on the fretboard sometimes, especially when things get super fast, I personally always try to eliminate the pressure. So right now I'm pushing down with the index finger. Right now I eliminated all the pressure and I guess you can barely tell from looking at my finger, like the difference is not that obvious, but the feeling is very different. Like when I put my ring finger on the fretboard like this or the pinky, I can feel them moving individually, as opposed to when I'm really pushing down with the index, then I can feel 2 or 3 fingers at the same time, which really screws up my synchronization. Nice! Awesome. So this is a really, really cool clip right here. Some very cool shred phrases. And I love how critical we all are of our own playing. Chris is saying right here, I struggle with the flying pinky finger as well. But it sounds really, really great. One thing that might help a little bit, especially when more stretchy phrases are introduced, I can see that the fretting hand is angled like this, which at least for me makes it very difficult to stretch and to control the fingers. Maybe that's where some of the flying pinky finger sensation is coming from. For shred phrases like this, as soon as I switched to this kind of grip, as opposed to angling my entire hand like that, it made it much easier to stretch further and to also kind of feel the fingers individually and to control that nasty pinky finger. So that might be something that's worth looking into, but this is already super promising and sounds great. Very, very cool. Nice. This sounds very, very great as well. As always, I love the practice tone right here. No reverb, no delay, no distortion, just a little bit crunchy to also spot the unwanted string noise. And with this exercise, the key is always hearing that open string in between the fretted notes. And as you could hear, I could personally always hear it. So you can always hear that open string in between the fretted notes. And the reason why this is the goal with that kind of exercise is because if you can always hear that one and it always lands on the right stroke, it means that you're playing the correct amount of notes and that the notes in between those open strings hopefully fall into place automatically. It's one of those exercises that teaches you this one reference point within the measure. And once that one lines up nicely with the click, it's really great for your synchronization and for making all the notes in between work as well. Nice. So with this one, we have a lot of really cool techniques in a practical context. Very cool sounding solo. The one thing that stands out a little bit is the fretting hand grip. You can see the thumb creeping out from behind the neck quite a lot. This is something I also do whenever I'm going for big vibrato or string bending stuff, so very expressive playing. But for a lot of the scale work that's a little bit more tricky in here, it would really help if the thumb is supporting the fingers from behind the neck. That immediately should clean up a lot of the alternate picking and scale/arpeggio stuff in there. What I really like is the relaxed picking hand technique you can see right here, and the different techniques actually, alternate and also some economy/sweep picking stuff in there. Not extending the pinky finger with the picking hand might also help, because sometimes it might be anchoring on the guitar body, other times it might be floating in the air. So I personally always try to not like clench my fist like this, but to at least close the hand like this to kind of avoid any inconsistencies with the technique. Nice. That sounds really, really good. Awesome job, congrats. So I love the relaxed picking technique. One thing that resulted in some inconsistencies for me is any like finger movement with the picking technique. I can see the thumb moving a little bit with the string transition right there, because that always slightly changes the angle of the pick, and you never, I guess, get the exact same results every time you do that. It can give you mixed results with string transitions, and this is one of those exercises where a more kind of parallel fretting hand technique like this might help a little bit with reaching the notes in time and with synchronizing the picking with the fretting hand movements. Because right now it's leaning to the left a little bit, and there's a little bit of kind of stretching movement involved, which results in string noise. But aside from that, I really like the timing and the relaxed approach to all this. Awesome results for day 1 to 5. Nice. This one also looks great because of the nice, minimal, relaxed movements, of course. The one thing I would pay attention to is the picking pattern, because I think it was played differently a couple of times. That might be a main reason for inconsistent results as well. If you have like 2 downstrokes in a row in there, or sometimes you start the second phrase with an upstroke instead of a downstroke, or vice versa. So I know it's hard to focus on all of these things at once, the finger movement, the correct picking pattern and all of that. But I would really suggest working out the details of the pattern and sticking to it. That should get you more consistent results for sure. But this is a tricky one. Alright my friends, those are all the clips we have time for this week. I can't wait to check out more clips. If you want your practice clips in the next video, click the link down below, sign up on Patreon, join a membership with Discord access. Can't wait to see you there. Have an awesome day.